Vibe everyone, welcome to the third episode of PlusOneMedia. My name is Jean Tawil, and in this episode we're going to talk about three things. The first one is the political tension and maneuvering that was happening in Washington DC the past 2-3 days between December 18 and December 20th. The second thing is the involvement of businessmen in the government. The third thing is the left-wing media pinning Donald Trump against Elon Musk. So before we dive into it, please, I urge you to follow, share, like, comment, do whatever you want to do to help me grow this podcast. Let's get into it. So the past 2-3 days, there was a lot of political tension and political maneuvering in Washington, D.C. regarding a spending bill. A spending bill that its budget was $1.7 trillion and it was 1,600 pages long. Now, to help you understand what was going on, because most of you guys were texting me saying that why is the American government talking about being shut down and on the news, I was looking into it, I studied it, and I wanted to help you guys understand it. So to help you understand it, we're going to have to go back a little bit to the basic. You have to understand that the Congress is divided between Republicans and Democrats. And the goal of the Congress is to pass laws and bills to keep the government running. One of those bills was a spending bill with a budget of $1.7 trillion to keep the government running, pay salaries, keep the electricity on, keep all the programs that they're subsidizing, and many other things. And that bill was a bipartisan bill. So what's a bipartisan bill? Bipartisan bill, it means that Democrats and Republicans work together on it. Some Democrats and some Republicans work together on that bill to make it go through the Congress, then the Senate, then the White House. Usually when a bill or a law wants to be passed, needs to be passed, it needs to go to a voting process on a Congress level, then a voting process on a Senate level, then they send it to Joe Biden or the President of the United States to the White House so he can sign it. And that bill, the $1.7 trillion bill, had a lot of programs in there, had a lot of overspending, and also had a clause that they wanted to increase the debt ceiling on January 2025. That was already decided on before creating that bill, that the Treasury will have to increase the debt ceiling in January 2025, because all the spending that was happening in 2023, 2024 needs to be recognized in the new debt ceiling. The debt ceiling, the current one, is $36 trillion, and they want to increase it. I don't want to get a lot into the debt ceiling because it is very complex. What I want to talk about is that after that bill needed to be passed, and most of the Republicans and Democrats wanted that bill, Elon Musk started saying that he's against that bill. He started posting on his X account 60 or 70 tweets saying that that bill is bloated, you don't need $1.7 trillion to keep the government running, there's a lot of overspending, and also there's a lot of issue with the debt ceiling date. And after Elon Musk started saying that, Donald Trump backed him up. Donald Trump said that we should stop that bill should not go through the Congress. So after Donald Trump started saying that, you have a lot of Republicans in the Congress having second thoughts. One of them is the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, who is a Republican. And they had second thoughts on that bill, and then they decided that they don't want to vote for that bill, and they don't want that bill to go through a voting process. So the Democrats started threatening to shut the government. They were saying that Donald Trump does not want a $1.7 trillion budget, so the government will have to be shut because we do not have enough money to keep it running. And the left-wing media started saying that Donald Trump is evil, Donald Trump is a dictator, he's not even in office, and look what he's doing, all that. And Donald Trump never suggested that he doesn't want the government to keep running, but he just wants a different bill. He doesn't want the $1.7 trillion. He wants a bill that's less than $1.7 trillion and does not have a lot of overspending and has a different clause on the debt ceiling date. And I believe he's right to ask for this, because that $1.7 trillion budget will spill to 2025. It will spill into his administration. So after Elon Musk and Trump said no, they recreated another bill. And the second bill, the total budget was $1.5 trillion, so $2 billion in difference. And instead of 1,600 pages, it's only 118 pages. So it was a very different bill. Well, not much different, but in pages it was very different. And the clause of the debt ceiling changed. And what happened also is that after that recreation of the new bill, the Congress voted for it. And the Congress said yes, then the Senate said yes, and then they sent it to the White House Joe Biden. Now, it was very interesting because there was a lot of tension between Republicans and Democrats, or between the people that wanted that bill and the people that did not want that bill. And what's interesting is that the involvement of Elon Musk in this whole process. Because if Elon Musk didn't say anything, that bill would have passed. I mean, politicians in Washington, D.C. are not conditioned to make sure that the government is efficient, the government is wealthier. That's not how politicians are conditioned in Washington, D.C. But when you start having businessmen involved and business people saying that, look, there's a $2 billion difference that we could save, and especially Elon Musk because he's part of the Department of Government Efficiency, then things gets interesting. And it got really interesting, but good thing that the government did not shut down. It would have been a very big crisis. And what I also want to talk about is that the media, how they're shaping this whole story. So Patrick Bet-David called it on November 28th, said that the left-wing media target is not Donald Trump anymore. Left-wing media's target was Donald Trump when the elections were running, right? They didn't want Donald Trump to become the president. But now that Donald Trump is officially a president and will assume office on January 20th, they changed their target, and now their target is Elon Musk, J.D. Vance, Vivek Ramaswamy, and all other people that might that are potential presidents for the 2028 election or other elections. And how do you switch the targeting from Donald Trump to Elon Musk? You make sure that Elon Musk and Donald Trump will be pinned against each other. And what they did, I'm going to put a link below so you guys can go watch their video. And what they were saying is that Donald Trump is a puppet to Elon Musk. Elon Musk is calling the shots and not Donald Trump. And that's very dangerous. Why? Because we all know how Donald Trump is. He wants to be the center of the attention. He has a big ego. And when his ego is being played with or is touched, we see a bad side of him. And that's what we saw in the debate with Kamala Harris. I said it in the last podcast that the Democrats locked Kamala Harris for a week or two in a hotel and taught her everything about Donald Trump. And they made sure that the strategy was to hit his ego and show the people the bad side of Donald Trump, because the more unfit for the presidency he looks, the better for us. And hence, this is where we saw the dogs and cats moment. So I believe that's the same strategy the left-wing media is using right now. I'm not sure if it's gonna work because I believe Trump and his team are aware of this, and if they don't give a lot of attention to that, the idea of Elon Musk calling the shots will die down. But I'm pretty sure that Donald Trump will not let Elon Musk call the shots. But Elon Musk, he's a billionaire at the end of the day, and he would like to take decisions. He would like to take actions. So we're going to see what's going to happen. It's a very interesting dynamic between both of them. We're going to see if it's going to work out or no. I believe we have a very long road ahead of us. Donald Trump is not even in office, and look what happened in Washington, D.C. So when he comes in, a lot of things will change, right? A lot of drastic changes will happen. And you have to understand what's also interesting is that when you have billionaires like Donald Trump or Elon Musk or Vivek Ramaswamy or Steve Witkoff getting involved in the government, it's a very different dynamic. Why? Because how it's always been is that the government works for the businesses. They work for specific industries. So a businessman or a billionaire will always make sure that the government works for their own benefit, for the businessman's own benefit, so their business and their industry keeps getting wealthier and better. Now you have the contrary. You have billionaires who are not working for money and they want to do something bigger than life. I believe when you become a billionaire, you want to do something bigger than life, not just about money. And when you have billionaires getting involved in the government to make sure that the government becomes more efficient, the government becomes wealthier, and all other factors, this is where it gets interesting because you cannot predict that outcome. In my lifetime, I've never seen this. So it's going to be very interesting. We're going to keep an eye on it. And thank you all for listening. Again, please, I urge you to follow, share, like, comment, do whatever you want to do to help me grow this podcast. And see you in the next one.